When Tony Dungy brought Tampa 2 to the NFL, the 2000s were rather unprepared. With only 4 defenders generating pressure, the Buccaneers were able to smother passing lanes and totally shut down offenses. Cornerback Rondé Barber became famous for his ability to shift inside and blitz the passer while also baiting quarterbacks into throws that he could pick off. Part of the reason Tampa 2 actually just functioned the way it did is because of how elite Rondé was at almost convincing quarterbacks to check down to a safe throw and then jumping it and taking advantage. In his own words, give the offense the benefit of the doubt and take that away from them. Tampa 2 largely capitalized off a different style and era of football, but when Belichick's almost spread-like approach to the defense was rolled out as a counter, it forced Dungy to reevaluate and adapt. With fast slot receivers like Welker and eventually Edelman as well as Gronkowski up the seam, it overloaded the linebacker's responsibility and became the new norm for NFL offense as a counter. In the spirit of the ever-shifting, almost metagame that all sports, but especially football, has, defenses responded with nickel packages, replacing a third linebacker for a third corner. During his time with the Packers, Charles Woodson shocked the football world with some of the most electric play from a defensive back in NFL history. He cemented what it meant to be a spur, star, rover, freelancer, etc., whatever the name is. But now players like Woodson are becoming all the more common. In fact, what if I told you that he outlined what the future for defensive backs is now becoming? In the modern NFL, trips formations with 3 wide receivers are no longer specialized packages, but in fact standard to a team's offense. If anything, it's almost expected that 80% of the time, nickel defenses that respond with 3 corners to match are mandatory. In 2014, ESPN published an article detailing more quantifiably the percentage increase in nickel usage. They cited that there was a 9% increase from just 2011. Chris Harris Jr. and the Broncos sent a formal announcement to coaches, general managers, and opposing quarterbacks that nickel was here to stay. In fact, the Broncos' most famous defense, no-fly zone, not only thrived in the package, but it was by far where they were most effective in general. The nickel position was occupied by many teams' backups, but it would end up being one of the most impactful players on the entire no-fly zone defense. With Bradley Roby and Aqib Talib by his side, Chris was able to put pressure on quarterbacks when he would rush, but also when he would bluff on a blitz, causing miscommunication across the entire offense while he dropped back into coverage and shut down a crossing receiver attempting to make a move inside. While the Broncos did not invent the nickelback, they were one of the first to fully showcase just how much potential the position had to offer, with Chris Harris Jr. getting snaps as a sub-linebacker, a deep zone, a man assignment, or even just to send an extra blitzer. The creativity and flexibility became impossible for offensive coordinators to figure out, let alone QBs that already had to brace themselves for one of the best pass rushing attacks we've ever seen. In some sense, when we talk about the modern defensive back, it is an evolution of the nickel again. While the principles are still there in concept, the weight of rotating into a linebacker or dropping back as a safety has now been added to an already growing appetite since the days of Chris Harris Jr. It's no longer something that players are supposed to do, it's something that they have to do. Brian Branch on the Lions is now expected to do multiple things on the defense. Not only play safety, but also to join the cornerback room in the slot where he plays primarily, to help with his skill as a run stopper and also shut down the field in coverage. Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore is another freak athlete, a 6'4" safety with the agility to cover tight ends and the size to stuff runs like a linebacker. Hamilton is the ultimate chess piece, and he has been for the Ravens for a long time now. He roams the field, appearing anywhere the offense threatens. He's the embodiment of the modern defensive back that I'm kind of talking about. The philosophy here is to put your best, most versatile players closest to the ball, and that's where someone like Hamilton thrives. He's best at nickel because he essentially fulfills the responsibilities of a slot corner, but also an outside linebacker at the same time. If there's a run to that side of the field or a screen pass, Hamilton is huge in blowing up the action basically every single time it happens. Budda Baker in Arizona is another perfect example of a modern defensive back who plays like a linebacker. He's lightning fast, but also physical enough to step up and stop the run. Arizona uses him like a Swiss Army knife, covering speedy slot receivers, blitzing the quarterback, and filling gaps against the run. He's what you get when you combine a linebacker's toughness with a defensive back's coverage skills, and he's such a cheat code schematically. Even though the Cardinals were a middle-of-the-pack defense, their flexibility and just creativity in design has been so fun to watch. They're able to line up in cover 2 after the snap, but with how fast Budda can read plays, he triggers immediately and the Cardinals defense gets all the effects as if he was lined up to play the run pre-snap. Budda is an homage to the Bob Sanders of previous generations, dominant run stoppers and backlines of entire defenses. The way Sanders was entrusted with the security of not only the third level, but the entire defense in general, is the same way that Buddha and Kyle Hamilton are. Alongside them in the NFL, there are now a vast amount of players that have growing responsibilities as safeties that are also expected to contribute as a corner. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, the list goes on, and now Jalen Ramsey even joins Pittsburgh as the ultimate demonstration of this role that I'm talking about. In base packages, Ramsey has lined up at a free safety position, but he gets slotted in at nickel during 3 defensive back sets. In practice, not only did Tomlin praise Ramsey for his coverage of tight end Jonnu Smith, but also for his ability to play all over the field, with his role going as far as to almost replicate that of a linebacker more than a corner. Ramsey got about 9 reps, and in such a limited sample size, he rushed the quarterback twice, without playing outside at all. With his run-stopping ability and just versatility in general, it only makes sense for the Steelers to have him right up there on the line. It goes to show the change in what a defensive back is meant to do in the NFL. Deion Sanders has gone down in history for his ridiculous ability at corner, but was also known for his business decisions and lack of willingness as a tackler. As good as Deion was, that just doesn't really fly in today's NFL. Tomlin had a fantastic name for the archetype that Ramsey is now playing, and for the record, what he played in the past at FSU. He called Ramsey a utility back, and I feel like that is the perfect way of describing the next generation of the secondary. The Broncos just drafted Jim Thorpe winner Jahdae Barron with pick 20, and it became one of our favorite picks of the entire draft. Barron's specialty is his unprecedented versatility and his ability to fulfill the role of a utility back. In college, he racked up a ridiculous amount of snaps all across the field, 1,133 as a wide corner, 917 as a nickelback, and 508 as a box safety. Not only was he elite as a corner, but he was also elite everywhere in the secondary, and I think that fits the definition that Tomlin's going for. Something becoming true in today's NFL, an era of disguised coverages and versatility, is that truly elite safeties and cornerbacks are no longer limited to their position. If they are truly elite, that means they are truly elite all across the field in whatever role the coach and coordinator scheme up for them. In the Broncos preseason games, Jahdae has demonstrated his stellar tackling and willingness to play close to the line as a game changer. Malachi Starks was drafted at the end of the first to the Ravens, and he's another example of this type of player. He's a safety that plays a lot of nickel, and the NFL should be punching themselves that they allowed a team as good as the Ravens to continue stacking up at this position, as now he gets to learn under Kyle Hamilton as well. A name that you've probably heard, but you're definitely going to start to hear more of as the season goes on, is Caleb Downs, who is one of the most insane defensive talents that I've ever watched in college. He is the engineer for this current Ohio State defense, and he was for Alabama in his freshman year. This is a guy that is going to be the future of the defensive back position. He has 12 times Pro Bowler written all over him, and he can even play punt returner. As time goes on, more and more of these talents will start to come out of the draft. Positionless football is almost on the horizon, with the role of a defensive back now shifting to that of a utility back, someone who can play everywhere, anytime. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We really appreciate any support and feedback that we do get, and we are happy to engage in conversations with you guys, not only about this topic, but about future videos that you'd like to see us make as well. Thanks for watching, and see you later.